In my last video, I talked about the rape of Tamar and the murder of Amnon. And that passage, the narrator of Samuel depicts as both a repeat and an intensification of the taking of Bathsheba and the death of Uriah just 2 chapters earlier. So in that chapter, David's son Amnon rapes his half-sister Tamar, and then Absalom, Tamar's brother, so also Amnon's half-brother, takes revenge on Amnon by killing him 2 years later. And Absalom, whose mother was the daughter of the king of Geshur, flees to Geshur and his mother's family. And he stays there for 3 years. So we're not done with the repercussions of David taking Bathsheba. And the next section of 2 Samuel covers chapters 14 all the way through 20, and it's bracketed by this inclusio with 2 wise women, 2 women who are described as wise, who call for a stop to bloodshed and peace, both the first peace in David's house and the second peace in the house of Israel. And then in between, at the center of this passage, is the death of the 3rd son of David, the 3rd one to die, since Nathan predicts that one of David's sons would die as punishment for his sin. So the first wise woman we meet is the wise woman of Tekoa, and she functions the same way Nathan does in chapter 12. She tells a story about another family, another feuding family, tells the story of the murder of one son by another. Sounds like Cain and Abel, and also like Amnon and Absalom, of course. And she asks David that he grant mercy for the living son, that he protect the living son so that he is not killed by the rest of the clan for the sake of her family. And she gets the king to pledge protection for the son before she, like Nathan before her, turns the tables and applies the situation to David's situation. And at this point, David recognizes that this has Joab's fingerprints all over it. But he stands by his word and brings back Absalom after 3 years in exile. And at this point, we hope for reconciliation in David's house, reconciliation between father and son. But no, instead of speaking to Absalom, after Absalom returns to Jerusalem, Absalom's not allowed to see David for 2 more years before Absalom goes to takes really extreme measures to get David and Joab's attention. He sets Joab's property on fire in order to obtain an audience with his father, David. And then for another 2 years after that, Absalom continues to plot. And Absalom gathers the support of the Israelites, and after 2 years begins an insurrection. And David is forced to flee. And as he flees, David is prepared to die. It seems like he's mostly resigned to his fate. But there is a battle, and in the end, Absalom dies. He is killed by Joab, despite David's order to be gentle with his son. So David can return home as king, but he is lamenting Absalom, and this apparent weakness encourages another would-be usurper. And again, we have a battle between David's house and Saul's house, as we did, and between the south, Judah in the south, and the northern tribes of Israel, who supported Saul. Just as we did at the beginning of 2 Samuel after Saul's death. So Joab pursues this rebel named Sheba to the gates of a town named Abel. And that name might sound familiar. It brings to mind the first brothers, Cain and Abel who is killed. And so is this town about to be destroyed as its namesake Abel was destroyed in this family conflict with the whole house of Israel? But at this time we come to the second wise woman, the wise woman in Abel of Bet Marakah, and she speaks to Joab. And her words are similar to Abner's words to Joab in that first civil war, back in chapter 3 of 1 Samuel. The wise woman of Abel says to Joab, "They used to say in the old days, 'Let them inquire at Abel,' and so they would settle a matter. I am one of those who are peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city that is a mother in Israel. Why will you swallow up the heritage of the Lord?" And then she pledges to toss the head of the usurper Sheba over the wall to Joab to ensure peace. And the townswomen go along with her wise plan, and they cut off the head of Sheba, son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab. And Joab blew the trumpet, and everyone dispersed and went home. So her words are very similar to Abner's at the beginning in chapter 3 of 2 Samuel, during the bloody battle between the northern tribes supporting the house of Saul and the southern tribe, Judah, supporting the house of David, where Abner calls to Joab, "Is the sword to keep devouring forever? Do you not know that the end will be bitter? How long will it be before you order your people to turn from the pursuit of their kinsmen?" And Joab agrees to a ceasefire, and he sounds the trumpet, and all the people stop, and the battle ends. So the battle ends outside of the town of Abel, and we're left wondering, a question hanging there, is this it? Will this finally be a lasting peace after all the trouble within David's house?